today I wanted to show a new tree stand covering for the base I'm talking about here, and describe a little bit about the product, the customer's intentions and requests, and maybe clue you into a new product. So first, this is my standard 6-tree stand. This was developed originally with a Flames of War game in mind, so that it had a crisp delineated edge for forest movement, but had plenty of open space to place Flames of War miniature bases in, case in point. So there's quite a bit of room in there. I then put it up on the store because I thought it'd be easy if you wanted to have this for 28mm models. You could remove a tree, then you could place your movement tray into the forest, and then when troops moved out of the forest, it would take only a second to pop the tree back in, and the forest would be restored. Of course, you've been following my videos. You'll see recently that I put up a new way of doing the trees, where the trees are all on bases, which I'd offered before, but then have an open stand below. So, thinking about the stand, this customer wanted something that resembled dead leaves and an established forest. And if any of you have been in established deciduous forests before, you know that pretty much the bottom is not green as I typically model it, but is more of a rusty brown from all of the decaying leaves. I chose green when I initially started modeling these because it's sort of the optimum coloring. I thought, the sort of the idealized, but in this case, the customer thought we'd go for a more realistic look, and he clued me into a new product called, a new product made by Timberline Scenery. And one of the things that Timberline does, which is a little bit unique, is that they're going for the ultimate in realism. So what they do is they actually put in real wood sticks into their foam basing, and they try to pick pieces that are going to be to scale to the size you're using. So, moving a tree here, I'll show you a couple of the pieces that ended up on the basing. So I'm going to pick this up. So if you look, now of course it's tough with the resolution these cameras offer, but you can see there's some deadfall scattered about. And this is pretty much how, actually I put the flock down, I sifted all the deadfall out and then put it down so I could control its location a little bit better. And the deadfall is pretty good scale in terms of diameter to the trees that are in this, and I think do add a little nice touch of realism to the base. The colors for the blends of the flock are not quite as varied as some of the blends of Woodland Scenics. So this is primarily an orange yellow with a green flock mixed in, and then I've added shrubbery and small bushes to break that up and to add sort of a little bit more of an understory feel, without adding too much that you're going to have large clumps, again, with block movement for large trays. To give you an idea of scale with a model, this is a new 28mm Reaper model I just painted recently, so you can get a sense of what that would look like from that perspective. The material is a little bit coarser than some of the Woodland Scenics materials that I've used, and so I actually sifted out a little bit of the finer material and kept some of the rougher stuff in the original package for later use. But I wanted to at least put this video up and kind of clue you into some of the variations that could be done for the bases. There's quite a bit of options when it comes to coloring the bases that I haven't really explored, primarily because nobody's asked me. So it's customer requests that often drive these kinds of changes, and I wanted to sort of mention that, get customer approval on this, because this was a special request, make sure that these colors look good and sort of meet the idealistic, the ideal vision that the customer had. And also, again, just to kind of clue you in that don't be afraid to look around at other products. I think Timberline Scenery is a little bit more expensive. Shoot, I didn't do any pricing research. That's about $360 for 20 cubic inches. That's what this is marked as. And there's a variety. I think if you go there, you're going to want to get the small scale stuff rather than the large scale, because the small scale is going to have stumps and bits of wood that are more in line. This is the large scale, and I actually ended up having to pick out one of the sort of dead trees that are in here that's a little bit too large. Well, actually, it's pretty close to one of the sizes of these trees' armatures. That highlights one more point is that I tend to not use natural materials on the bases primarily because they aren't durable. Wood is pretty fragile once it dries, and so I've opted to go with slightly less realistic. The ultimate in realism is a wooden tree. Actually, they do make wooden armatures. They cut special branches, sagebrush, etc. But they're incredibly fragile once they're finished. So that's sort of in the domain of railroaders who do a static display that isn't going to be moved around. But when it comes to gamers, you're going to be plopping that on the table. You're going to be bumping it when you're moving figures around. You're going to be pulling trees out. You're going to be stacking other terrain on top. And I wanted something that's going to hold together. I go back and I reattach all the foliage to these with hot glue so that they're durable, they're going to stay together, and you get the sort of optimum middle ground of realism and durability. So again, just cluing into the new product and one of the other options that can be done. A simple change like this, I don't really consider a custom project, so it goes into the regular work queue. And if you have other suggestions or comments, of course, you're always welcome to leave them. I appreciate all of the viewers who give me feedback. It's nice to get ideas from viewers as well as customers. Thanks.